Hear my voice. Amazing. Hello, Asia Pacific. I hope you're doing great. This is actually like the fourth time I'm delivering this session, but actually I'm super excited to deliver it even today. No, I'm not sick, but it's actually a little bit late. It's around like midnight. So my voice sometimes changes. Yeah, and I smoke a lot of cigarettes, which I do not recommend to anybody over here. Anyway, welcome everybody to this session. We're going to be discussing one of the most important bodies in Isec, which is global structure, which means Isec International plus regional office. So during this or during the upcoming 30 minutes, we'll be able to talk about different objectives. But first, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Aziz. You can call me Aziz. I always do this joke of you can call me Aziz because my name is very easy to pronounce. So I've been ISC International Vice President Network Operations for this year. And last year I was managing the LDM as AIVP Innovation. Then the year before I was part of the Regional Office of Middle East and Africa as RMGT and also GV at a certain point. Then the year before I was the MCP of ISC in Tunisia, and I had different experiences, whether in MC Turkey or MC Tunisia or even on LC level. And yeah, for today, we're gonna be mainly discussing first the context in which regional office was first initiated and what was the main idea behind it. And second is the differentiation in terms of the services and the role of both ISC International and the regional office. Cool. So I hope that this is already understandable, but I would like to ask you this question of when you hear the word regional office, like what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Like what are the main stereotypes that usually come to your mind whenever you hear about the regional offices or even regional managers, regional director? I know that Tony is very, very famous over here. But what are your main general stereotypes? You can actually type in the chat, or if you feel more comfortable to speak, then you can unmute yourself, popcorn style. Like even one word, in one word, if you hear the regional office, what comes to your mind? Where are they? Yes. That's actually a very cool, that's a very cool answer. No, not at all. Cool. But usually the main stereotypes that that I've been hearing also when I was even a regional manager, mainly whatever stereotype is usually about regional office always traveling, always having those incredible experiences where they do visit several countries, but we tend to forget usually like what's the role of this body or what's the role of the regional office, why they would be doing this these kind of things of traveling around or delivering sessions everywhere and so on, right? So first of all, in order for us to understand what is the role of regional office or what kind of services the regional office is being delivered, we need first to understand from where this idea came, because this idea actually is a little bit old, but also a little bit young or a little bit new, in the sense of it was initiated by Isec 2020 as the midterm ambition that we had from 2016. That was the conversation of how can we shape what we do around what the world needs, and how can we grow disruptively, and how can we be accessible to everyone everywhere with the current structures, with the current business model of Isec International, and what with the kind of infrastructure that the network had back then. So many things were actually reviewed, but one of the things that I would like to highlight here is that every single year in the roadmap of Isec 2020, we used to have 5 strategies, right? For the ones who are a little bit old, you could remember that we always have some projects under each strategy, right? And the fifth strategy actually was about organizational legality and financial sustainability, which is mainly about reviewing different aspects of the mechanisms of finance that we used to have. But mainly what we were doing is reviewing the global financial model, which was one of the main responsibilities or duties of these bunch of people that were working on the Global Finance Model Mandate Summit. Yeah, it's a very long name for a summit, but it is a very cool summit, in which they ended up working on the global financial model, but mostly on the business model. Because as you might know, in the global financial model, we used to have three main components, or we always have three main components: the calculation model, the distribution model, but also the business model. And in this business model, we are not talking about young people in general as customers, or Isec as a provider, but we are talking about Isec International as the main provider of a product, and the Isec entities, which is the global network, is the main customer over here. And whatever we are offering is services. Cool. I hope that this is clear so far. Let me know in the chat every time that you guys have a question or you feel like there are things that are not clear enough. Cool. Amazing. All right, so mainly when it comes to the business model, that was the main conversation during the summit. So for the summit itself, you will find in the output the link itself of those slides from a summit in 2016. If you're really curious to go through it, yeah, really go through it. It's actually very, very interesting, but I'm gonna try to sum it up in a couple of slides right now. So what happened in the beginning is that first we started with the AI Canvas business model, in which we determine first the revenue streams and the cost structure. But as you could see over here is that the value proposition is too much. When you think about it, the way Isec International is providing services is through different channels, whether conferences, summits, visits, the is.ec websites and internal comms, but it's still not enough to be able to grow disruptively or to be able to shape whatever we do around what the world needs. So whatever needed at that point of time was the idea of expanding, and expanding not necessarily in the amount of entities or how big the network of Isec is, but actually in the way we are delivering those services and how can we make them even much more effective. So what happened is that they created this, what they called the future business model of regional office, which became the actual business model of the regional office at this point of time, which is also, as you could see, there are very similar value proposition to the Isec International to the Isec International value proposition in the business model. But if you would just focus on them, you would understand that it's mainly reinforcing whatever services that should have been delivered to the network from Isec International by the regional office. So for that, we ended up with different services that were dispatched or reallocated within the bodies in a way that it could be serving the network in the best way possible. We'll dig deeper into that, but first I would like to just highlight a couple of things before we move forward. First of all, when it comes to the context of where regional office was established, it was a context of expansion of an organization that is trying to serve better the network because we need a better outcome or a bigger outcome from what we used to have. And that's why the midterm ambition of Isec 2020 was huge enough for people to start expanding and looking and figuring out different solutions in every single strategy from the roadmap. Second is that those services to the network were meant to be reinforced. So it's not about removing something and putting it somewhere else, but the idea is whatever Isec International is trying to do, for example, when it comes to long-term strategy implementation, regional office would be supporting that in a different way by whatever stakeholder they are managing. And talking about stakeholder, one of the main focuses of every single year in the regional offices that we used to have, and also the most efficient and constant service, was the MCP's network management. And that's one of the main priorities that was set since the beginning of the creation of this body, but also up until now, as you could see. All right, so how does it look right now? First of all, as I said, like Arrow evolved according to different contexts, and it always adapt and adjust its role to whatever happens in terms of the external environment. Is there a problem with the slides? Yeah, there is a problem with the slides. Cool, let's refresh this out. Amazing. All right, were we all in this slide? Yeah, cool. So as I was saying, great, amazing. All right, so as I was saying, how does it look right now? It looks exactly not as much as they imagined it 7 years ago, but because of the external environment that had to push us to adapt and adjust the role and the JDs of whoever is part of the regional office in order to serve the network in the best way possible. Second is that supply and demand facilitation was deprioritized. And it's one of the things that was not as efficient as expected, but also it was a waste of time of a regional manager JD into something that they do not have full control over. And also the way they would coach, it would be super hard for both the coach and the coachee. And last but not least, the evolution of Arrow role and services were very were in parallel, if I say that, with Isec International's role, and that was since the beginning one of the most important ones. Cool. So how does it look right now when it comes to the regional office services? First, we have different blocks. So I would like you to focus more on the blocks other than those small words in the slide. I hope that the slide this time works, but let me know if it doesn't. So it's mainly supporting network operations, regional network management, organizational strategy implementation, entity development, which is the biggest and the most important block. And last but not least, everything that is related to BD, which means the regional sales development and the regional sales and partnership management. Cool. So as you could see, there are some services that, for example, like used to be delivered 2 years or 3 years ago in specific arrows, such as AP, for example, but today they are not being delivered. Why? Because it's mainly whatever I was saying about the idea of focusing much more on the MCP as a main stakeholder, but also keep delivering the services that are that were set 7 years ago when they were imagining the role of what kind of RO could be doing. Cool. So thinking about the entity development, I would like to have like some breakouts, Min, if you can help me, or anybody from the CC meanwhile. To have those breakouts of 2 or 3 people, depending on the number of delegates we have over here. But it's mainly like a quick discussion about the expectations of you as MCPs of your respective entities toward the services that regional office is willing to provide for the next 6 months. Why is it important? Because we still didn't start the term together. And also regional office has been used to a way of delivering those services over the past 4 or 5 months that they started their term. So it's very important to refresh those expectations and to understand from the new generation of MCPs, how and what do you expect from MCPs one-to-ones? What do you think could be changing, or what do you think should be in the next regional commission calls as a content and whatsoever? So I prioritize this ED block, so you could actually go through it. So we'll have like 5 minutes of discussion. I hope that you could be as fast as possible, but it's mainly in this sheet, the one that you guys usually use for debrief and so on. I will just put it again in the chat. And according to the number that you got allocated to, you could just put the expectations over there. It's very important for us, so we could consolidate it afterward, and we could see and think about how we can improve those services for the upcoming 6 months. Cool. I hope that the breakouts are open now. If I'm not wrong, are they open? Yes, so the breakouts will be open in a couple of seconds, and yes, we'll have 5 minutes exactly for that. Can somebody help me with breakouts? CC or Tony? Like random of 3 people. Cool. Amazing. All right. Can somebody also help me sharing this slide or screenshot of this in the Telegram group also would be amazing, so people don't get lost. The guidance questions. Amazing. Thank you, Cici. All right. Is it all good with the breakouts, or we could actually, yes, it's working. Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Cici, for that. All right, see you in 5 minutes. All right, Cici, did you already put a timer with the breakout rooms, or should I keep the time and let you know whenever we need to close the breakout rooms?
I couldn't put a timer, but I'm actually timing on my phone, so it's all good.
That's amazing. Cool. Thank you so much. All right. Still coming back. All right, we're coming back slowly but surely. Amazing. Cool. I hope that this conversation was, I hope that the time was enough, even though I know that the time is not enough. So I think for us, like, to be able to get your input in case like you guys didn't finish or you still have some ideas or some thoughts about your own expectations toward some of the services, you could still like go to the sheet even after agenda or during a break and map out like different expectations, whether what to keep or what to change or what to start or what would you expect as an outcome from different services and so on, because it's very important for us and for the rest of the regional office to understand like what are you guys expecting from them as well, even though the compendium already tells us what to do. Talking about the compendium and whatever that document is telling us for every single body inside of the organization what to do. It's also very important to acknowledge the main services that Isec International is doing and whatever regional office is doing and what are the main services differences in all of this. Cool. So when it comes to Isec International services, the first thing to keep in mind is that the scope of each of these services depends on the Isec International context. And when we are talking about the context, we're talking about two main things, the human resources and the financial resources. So for these two main things, we always define some of the non-negotiable whenever we start planning as Isec International. The things that we cannot like choose the scope of it because it's already there. It's already stated very explicitly within the compendium, such as the association governance, such as the legal management or the financial management of the organization, but also when it comes to the brand and sales and partners management, it's always stated the same way in the compendium. Cool. Then there are different aspects that we could actually, or different services that we could minimize the scope, because those are the ones that are nice to have if you want to make it bigger, or you can minimize them and you still can deliver according to the compendium. But this would not be a reduced focus compared to previous terms based on people and also financial resources, as I was saying in the beginning. Cool. In the other hand, when it comes to the regional office, we should acknowledge that whatever regional office is doing is an extension of the network operations department, which is part of the AI structure, which Tony is part of, which I am part of, and I'm super happy and honored to work with him during this year in that department. And the second thing is that the role of ROs are the same as the role of Isec International, network operations and organizational strategy implementation. If you could see it this way, is just whatever we are, like I'm talking about these 2 points, 6.2.2.1.1, and the next one, which are pretty similar to what Isec International is doing, right? But the main idea is that whatever is happening is like complementing each other in that sense. Cool. The RO role was refreshed following the RO legal mandate. So you could ask your predecessor about this if you don't have idea or some knowledge about it. It's fine. It's not like a big thing. It's just the way we refreshed the regional office role. And second, it was decided that the main stakeholder that the regional office would be, of course, MCPs. And last but not least, it also enforces the culture that we would like to see in every single region. Cool. Also, when it comes to the scope of the global structure, regional office and Isec International, they are mainly related to whatever we want to see the network doing or whatever we want to see the network focusing on. And those network goals are actually the 2025 metrics plus the number of full members, because the association governance, we saw that it's not in its base state, in its best state, and we would like to see more full members being part of the decision making of the global association. So by the end of the day, whatever the scope of the global structure, if I would like to leave you with one message, it would be to keep in mind that whatever regional office is doing and whatever Isec International is doing, by the end of the day, we are both of these bodies, which is the global structure, contributing to these metrics, to this direction, and to these strategies. So that being said, I would also leave you with those slides in the output, so you could go through it and understand from each department what are the main focuses, and also what kind of structure do we have over there. But of course, like this is one of the departments also that I'm part of, as I said, alongside with Tony and the rest of the regional directors. And our main focus, or whatever we are doing, is basically network operations, which means managing both EWA and GV mainly, but plus whatever network regional information management and different other aspects of the network management, especially when it comes to MCPs. Yes, I hope that you have questions, because if you have questions, that would be great to put them in the sheet. Or I think, yes, I'm on time, right on time. Yeah, since we don't have enough time for questions, it would be great to put your questions somewhere in. Oh, why did I stop sharing? Yeah, somewhere in the sheet, Min, if I'm not wrong, there is a place in which there is Q&A. And in case like you want to have a conversation about it, you could also approach Tony or anybody from the regional office, or even myself. And yeah, I hope that this was informative enough, and it was useful, at least like to set the expectations towards the next 6 months, but also understanding what is common between AI and RO, and also how do they complement each other to serve the network in the best way possible. Cool.
Thank you, Aziz. So whenever you have the questions, right, you can go to the delegate kits and you can go to day 2 debrief. You will see the things similar to CO for 90 days. So you can put some of your learnings there for the days. Your open questions if you have. Yeah. That's page for you. If you don't have the paper with you, then you can go to that place and write down. Okay, thank you, Aziz, and so proud of you. So proud of you. So proud of you. Good night, boss. Okay, enjoy your sleep. Bye. Okay.